Welcome to the Stronger Than Your Boyfriend podcast, a podcast for anyone into fitness.
Especially for those of you doing the basic bitch, trendy exercises.
We are Heather and Katie, owners of Barpath Fitness, here to help you sift through the bullshit and toxic misinformation that permeates the fitness industry. Today, we're going to give you our take on the 10 most underrated exercises that you need to incorporate into your routine. These are the moves that we feel don't get enough love on social media, especially because people might consider them not super interesting, but they can seriously level up your strength, your mobility, and your performance.
Yeah, it's not like they're anything that different from the movements we always talk about.
Right.
You know, they're variations of the foundational movement patterns, right? So it's just a different movement, but all in all, you're working the same movement pattern. So
yeah, totally.
And this is definitely for the people who they're doing their workouts. This is for the people who are like, I'm so bored, I'm doing the same thing. Well, here you go. You can do different movements, even though they're still effective and they're, same but different. So first one, most people mess this one up, and you definitely have to have a solid base of strength before you start doing it. Although you can do it with dumbbells, etc. The push press. So the push press, it's, you're pressing overhead. It's that foundational movement, extending your arms overhead, working that shoulder flexion, except you're gonna use momentum from the hips to push the weight overhead. So how to do that? Most people make this a squat to press, and that is what it is not.
Yeah.
So this is why it does require a lot more skill than people think. So when you want to rack it on your shoulders, so you're doing that front rack position,
elbows up,
and you also have to have that mobility, right?
Yeah.
So if you've done front squats before, I'm not talking about the cross-armed front squats. We're talking about front rack position. You have to have that base of mobility to do this, because you can't just grind your way through and muscle it when you're catching it from the overhead position in a push press, because it's explosive. So you're starting in the front rack position. You want to keep your torso upright as you dip down. So your knees are just going to travel forward and your torso stays upright. So it's a pretty shallow dip as well. It's not, like I said, you're not doing like a half squat into a press. You can get momentum that way, but you will probably fuck up your lower back doing it that way. So it does take some skill. If the barbell's too much, or if you just need to do the barbell, that's fine, but you should be pretty good at strict overhead presses before you're doing this.
Yes.
And front squats, just to be able to catch the weight as it comes down, because the focus of this is more so the explosive concentric part versus the eccentric, which you're focusing on both when you're doing a strict overhead press. But now we're not so much we are trying to control the eccentric portion of a push press. It's just there's a little less emphasis on that.
Yeah.
It's more about the explosive power from the hips as you're driving the weight overhead.
Yeah, so, I think good call on the prereqs. I think the prereqs are ability to get into a front rack position and strong at overhead press, or experience with overhead press.
Yeah.
And the front rack position, a couple things on that. Like when I do it, I can't get all four fingers
and that's okay.
around the bar, but I can get two.
Yeah.
And that's pretty good.
I think that's okay.
Right? As long as it's resting on your shoulders and you're bunching up your chest appropriately.
Yeah, and this, I think, just backing up, this episode is for people who are a little bit more advanced.
Yes.
Because if you're not in the position to do a movement like this, then you need to hone in on those basic movement patterns. So you need to focus on strict overhead presses. You need to work on that mobility in the front rack position and basic squats and basic shoulder flexion. So that's why, yes, this is for those people who are like, okay, I'm squatting a shit ton, I'm pressing a shit ton. What can I do to really progress it? And this is also something, especially with upper body movements, most people don't work on explosivity in their upper body.
Yeah,
so this
that's
is
true.
a really good movement to do that. But I would maybe watch some YouTube videos. There's some, Olympic lifters that explain this really well, because this is a big accessory movement for Olympic lifters. But, just more so for that dip and drive, because you are using momentum from the hips. It's not from the legs. And I think that's where people do the squat press versus an actual push press. So,
yeah. A note on the squat to press.
Squat
Another
to
move
press.
that I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but if you are doing this movement, you probably are not even ready for this podcast episode. The curl to press. Have you seen people do this?
Is that like bicep curl to shoulder
into a
press?
shoulder press? Yeah.
Okay.
That's a group fitness move.
Yeah, it really is. And that's not enough weight for a shoulder press then. Because if you can
Correct.
curl it too, that's not heavy enough
Yeah.
for your shoulder press.
Yeah, if you your shoulders can handle a lot higher loads than your biceps, so combining these movements makes zero
Yeah.
sense. So if you are
Yes.
doing that,
You just don't.
just don't. Okay.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right. On to the next one.
Second underrated exercise, the belt squat.
Ooh, what is a belt squat?
The belt squat, there's a few different kind of variations of this that you can find in the gym. So a lot of times your gym may have like a machine that has this.
Yep.
But it's typically like plate loaded, and then, or like manual plate loaded, like
Yeah.
you put plates on it. And then there's a belt. And
Yeah.
you put the belt around your waist, and then you put your feet on the platform, and the plate goes down between the platform.
Yeah, so
you're
between your
lowering down.
legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest advantages of a belt squat is that it loads your lower body without putting stress on your spine. And because the weight is attached to your hips and not your back, you can train pretty much like your quads, your glutes, your hamstrings pretty hard without taxing your lower back.
Yeah.
This is a really good exercise if you are focused, like say you're really focused on improving your deadlift right now.
Right.
And so you're doing very heavy deadlifts, you're doing more volume than usual on deadlifts, whatever it is, but you still want to squat. It's a great addition instead of a barbell back squat.
Yeah.
So that you don't tax the spine.
Right.
But you still get still
Yeah.
get to train the squat.
Yeah. Okay, what should you do if you don't have a belt squat machine? Because
Yeah.
I think most places that have belt squat machines
Yeah.
are like powerlifting gyms.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
some
what-
at like Vasa.
Oh, yeah, okay.
There's some like they're getting more popular.
Okay,
But
well,
I
that's
agree,
good.
not every gym is going to have a
Yeah.
belt squat.
So how do you do it?
So I have a video.
Okay, link it in the show
I'm gonna
notes.
link it,
Yeah.
because I have to. Maybe I'll post it on our Instagram
Yeah.
as a reel, and then I'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah.
It's kind of funky, but I did this in the garage gym, and basically I set up. So I was in our squat rack that we had in the garage,
Yeah.
and I had the barbell set up for my hands.
Oh, yeah.
So you just need something to hold on to. And like you'll notice the belt squat machine at gyms, there's like
They have
a thing, a
handles?
handle
Yeah.
you hold on to. So you need something like that. So I
Yeah.
set up a barbell in a
Barbell.
rack. And then I took the two really large
So, like,
wooden plyo boxes,
Yeah.
and I put them on either side.
Uh-huh.
And so my feet went on those, and there was a space in the middle.
Yeah.
So I stood on the plyo boxes. There's space in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
My hands are on the bar, and then I put the dip belt around my waist.
Yeah.
And I attached plates to it. Now, the one thing about the dip belt is it's got chains.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're gonna rub your inner thighs.
Uh-huh.
This is where you get creative. I personally decided to take knee wraps
Mm-hmm.
and I wrapped them around my thighs so that I wouldn't have the friction.
Yeah.
But you could use whatever you
Yeah.
want. Just put extra padding on your thighs
Yeah.
because that chain is really uncomfortable. But it worked.
Okay.
It worked really well.
Yeah. I mean, that's some dedication for the setup, but I'm acting like I wouldn't do that. Like I totally would do it.
Yeah.
They feel really good.
Yeah.
Because it's like, wow, my core isn't taxed,
Yeah.
my low back isn't taxed, but my legs are getting it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I really do think it's definitely underrated.
Yeah, it's an excellent exercise.
Yeah. And if you're new at it, it's not like you need to load up the belt with
No.
a ton of
Yeah, you
weight.
don't need a
So
lot of
just to try it, it's not as intense as it sounds, but we should link the video so that
Yeah.
people can actually see.
Yeah, and you can get creative
Yeah.
and try different ways. And
Yeah.
I'd love to see people in our group like
Yeah, try it.
because
Yeah.
that was just my version.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's another kind of setup too that
Yeah.
people have thought of. But.
sure.
Okay, on to the next one. Pendlay row.
Yes.
So what is a pendlay row? This is, I guess I'm really just on the explosive upper body
You really
strength
are.
today. But
I love it.
You know, I was talking, Rob, shout out Rob, who runs the training spot here that I train at in Golden. So if you're around, you should check it out. And we were talking about how, as we're in our 30s and 40s, he was like jumping off like a step or something, and he was like, wow, I feel like my knees were gonna explode. And it's just something that you lose over time,
Yeah.
and you definitely feel it more so with lower body.
Yeah.
So like, your knee joints, your hip joint, ankles, etc. But it is important. So it's important to train lower body explosive strength too. It's just something that people don't train.
Yeah.
Because whether or not they just want to get in, get out, they're just focusing on getting stronger, which is obviously the best
Yeah,
thing to
that's your
train for.
baseline. That's important.
Right, but this is a different type of strength.
Yeah.
So, and I think that, if you're doing something explosively really quickly in daily life, you could really hurt yourself. So
Yeah.
I think it's important to train.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of getting back into that. So, okay, explosive pulling strength. So this is essentially a barbell row, but the weight is set up on the floor. So you're in like a fully bent over position. So your torso is pretty much parallel to the floor. Whereas if you're doing a barbell row, just a regular barbell row, I still have my clients keep their
Yeah, get as
torso
low as
down
possible.
because, as you start standing up, there's more shoulder involvement versus the back. But you can have like a slight angle up if you're doing a barbell row and get away with it. But this one, you're fully parallel to the floor. Your torso is, because you're pulling up, pulling fast, pulling, the same pattern as a barbell row, like pulling towards the belly button and squeezing your lats. It's just explosive, and then it's a controlled drop to the floor.
Yeah.
It's not like you're just flailing around like
Yeah.
CrossFit. You're just pulling. You're just pulling. You're just controlling the drop. But it's, again, we're focusing here on the concentric versus the eccentric.
Yeah.
And you can overload this. Same thing, going back to the push press. You can do more weight if you have more momentum. So same thing with this. You can do more weight with a pendulum row, especially with that reset from the floor.
Yeah.
You can really focus on like pulling up, reset, set your lats, take a deep breath, pull up, etc. The one caveat with this is you need bumper plates
Yes.
you can do like a makeshift setup, because if you have just regular metal plates, and let's say, I would say an average weight for a female client doing this is starting with like 60 to 75 pounds or 65 to 75 pounds or something. If they have the prereq strength to do this, I wouldn't do this with a client who's a beginner. So, they're not at 135.
It's not 135,
I can't even do a pendulum row with 135.
No.
So bumper plates are best because they're all the same height. They just they're thicker the heavier they get.
Yeah.
You can it's a pain in the ass, but you can set up. I mean, you can stack some plates and rest the plates on if you need to. You just don't want to be pulling at a super big deficit.
Right.
If you could do 95 pounds, so you have a 25 on each side. I've noticed for myself, but I'm a smaller person. Maybe if it was a big, tall person, this might not be the best. But for me, I'm only 5'3". I can pull like 95 pounds, 25s on each side. Yeah, from the floor with just a basic metal plate, and it's not a super big deficit.
Yeah.
But if you're feeling it in the low back, you kind of have to just test this out. So, test it out. Don't go too crazy. You can also do this movement with dumbbells or kettlebells. And I have my clients do this a lot with that. So we have a heavy dumbbell on the floor, and I'll put it sometimes between their legs, sometimes just one arm on the, outside. And I just have them do the same thing. They're pulling up, squeezing, and then controlling the drop. Okay. So heavy dumbbell, heavy kettlebell. If you don't have bumper plates to do this with a barbell, or you don't want to set up a shit ton of plates to stack your metal plates on. So yeah, I like this one.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Let's go into, that was 3, right? Okay,
Yep,
number
that was
4.
3.
I'm gonna say you can do this a bunch of different ways, but hamstring isolation
Yes.
is super important.
Yes.
There's a lot of different ways to work the hamstrings. This exercise, I feel like I like it because it's accessible. And this is a hamstring curl either with a stability ball, with rings, a TRX, or even like heel slides.
Yes.
Like towels under your feet, under your heels on a wood floor. Okay. So basically, if you're doing, I'll just explain the heel slides on the floor. If this is your version, you're doing it at home.
Yeah.
You have a wood floor.
Yeah.
You put towels. I've seen other people try paper plates, whatever slides on your floor.
We got real creative with COVID.
Yeah,
When COVID's
yeah, right.
happening,
Yeah.
What do we have?
You put those under your heels. You go into a glute bridge.
Yep.
And then you straighten and bend your knees. So you pull your heels towards you, isolating your hamstring, doing a hamstring curl against that friction from the floor, and then back out. You can do it on a stability ball. You can do it on rings. You can do it on a TRX. But it's great. Hamstring isolation is really great. You're also in a bridge, so you're resisting the hip extension. You're engaging your entire posterior chain.
Yeah.
Your hips are extended, your core is engaged, and you're stabilizing your pelvis throughout the movement.
I don't think people realize how hard this movement actually is.
Agreed.
Most of my clients I have do in myself, well, I could probably do a full rep. I haven't really tried in a hot minute, but they're just doing the eccentric because it's tough to pull when your hips are bridged up and you have just maximal tension on your hamstrings. It's really hard to pull your heels back
it
towards
totally
you.
is. Yeah.
It's with sliders, I should say.
Yeah.
With rings or a stability ball, it's a little bit easier,
Yeah.
but you do need a little, a decent base of strength there.
Totally.
But here's why these are so important, isolating your hamstrings, because if you've done a Romanian deadlift where, at the bottom of that movement, you feel like your hamstrings are stretching and everyone's like, this feels so good. That is telling me your hamstrings are weak if you're feeling that. So most people don't do movements like this because they just think they need to stretch their hamstrings and then, maybe they'll do a Romanian deadlift and then they'll do some, seated hamstring curls or something to isolate.
Yeah.
But this is, you're using your body weight. You're not using a machine, which machines are okay, but this is better.
Yeah.
Because this is you're loading your hamstrings with your own body weight, and that's important.
And you're keeping your pelvis stable.
Yes.
When you're on a machine, you don't have to do that. It does
Right.
that for you.
Right. And also you could move around on the bench or the chair and it's like you're locked in with the pad or whatever setup you have. So it's like it could move around. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Just might not feel as comfortable. But yeah. I also, isometrics too, like just holding the position could be a good way to add that in if you can't necessarily do the reps yet. So
Yeah, totally.
really good one. So instead of your lying machine hamstring curls, do
Give this a
these
shot.
instead.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay, next one. Reverse grip barbell curls, dumbbell curls, reverse grip curls.
Yeah.
You could do these barbell, dumbbell, cable, band. I really, really like these, and I feel like these are super, super underrated when we are isolating the biceps. And here's the thing. Yes, if you're just training for general strength, you might not even see biceps in your plan. Because if you're like, I only got 2 hours a week for you to train. Okay, maybe we would have time to get in a bicep curl. This would probably be the one I would choose for you, but maybe not. But if someone comes to me and is like, I want to get strong at pull-ups and chin-ups, we're going to do some isolation bicep work because you need to have strong biceps in order to do that. And, deadlifts too. If you're doing
that's what I
heavy
was gonna
deadlifts,
say.
you need to be able to stabilize with your biceps. So, but this one is so good for you because it trains your forearms too. So you're training your wrist extension while you're doing this as well. And I don't ever see anyone do these. And
I do 'em.
Well, yeah, you obviously, but not
in the
just
gym.
a regular
I know.
gym. Yeah. They're uncomfortable. I think that's why, because it's like, ow, you can.
Yeah, they are.
It's almost like we've talked about this before. When you're doing front squats, the pain you feel, and it's not that bad, but it's like a little pain that you feel because your mobility isn't there, and or strength, especially in those the wrist extensors. So you could, if your gym has an easy bar, that's the one that's got the curves in it, it's a little bit more comfortable. You could try it with dumbbells. That's honestly the same feeling, like mobility, lack of mobility feeling, or regular barbell. But you're getting your biceps, you're getting your forearms. This is a really good one.
I feel like a lot of these exercises we're touching on, the hamstring curls even maybe, the positioning, the push press, a lot of people, and even the belt squat, a lot of people don't like to do them because they're not comfortable.
Right. Well,
They don't feel great. But part of that is you got to work on your mobility. You got to get a little bit tougher.
Yeah. like, let's go. You're already in the gym.
Yeah.
Get even fucking tougher. And if it's uncomfortable, it is good for you. If you don't like it, you need to do it.
Yeah.
It's like the classic joke when you're training a client. You just make that cheesy joke like, oh, you hate these? I guess we're going to do them more. That you always say to your clients.
Yeah.
But it's true.
Right.
It's just,
And we're not saying muscle through it if your form is bad.
No.
We're saying work on the things that are limiting you from doing these exercises.
Yes. And if you have a trainer watching you,
Yeah.
they'll be able to coach you through, is this pain or is it just uncomfortable and you don't want to fucking do it?
Right.
So we know what we're doing.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that was 5, right? I'm keeping track to make sure we actually do 10.
Yeah.
Number 6, weighted pullover.
Ooh.
Yeah, these are good.
These are
so
good.
this weighted pullovers are awesome for a lot of reasons. They're a great lat and chest strength builder. They're awesome for thoracic and shoulder mobility. basically you have your upper back on a bench. Your hips are again up in a like glute bridge.
Yep.
Like this, there's a whole
glute stability
bridge position here.
Yeah.
Stabilizing the pelvis. And you have the weight in your hands and it's over your head, right? And you're lowering it behind your head and then you're pulling up through. And you're moving through a large range of shoulder flexion and thoracic extension. And this means it's a really good active mobility drill while also being strict, because strength is mobility.
Yes.
We talk about this all the time.
Yes.
But if you are a lifter who struggles with overhead movements,
yes, if you can't do that push press,
if
you should throw this in there.
This is a great bonus exercise for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want to keep your rib cage down as you anytime you do a back bend.
Yeah.
So like, I don't want you to think of it as a back bend because I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with this. They really just arch and open up their ribs.
Yeah.
Try to keep that just a little bit, like it's just like a little.
That posterior pelvic tuck, like
Yeah.
a little bit.
Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Rib to hip kind of down, like abs engaged a bit. And that'll help so you're not overextending.
Yeah. I think you need to go, the key for this one is to go slow and light with the weight at first.
Yes, agreed.
And honestly, this is like a full body movement. I mean, your hips are stabilizing, your core is engaged, your upper body. It is definitely one of my favorite. And it feels really good too.
Yeah.
And not at first. At first, it feels really shitty.
None of these feel good at first.
No, it's the same. I mean, that's why we're throwing them in there, because if you are a more advanced lifter, you need to be doing this shit.
Yeah.
Get yourself uncomfortable and do different movements and watch your gains explode.
Yeah.
So,
But this movement in particular is going to help you with stabilization of the shoulder blades of the scapula.
Yes.
Which improves your pressing,
Yes.
your pulling, and even your posture.
Yes.
So highly recommend that one.
Okay, the next one isn't a single movement, but it's a category of movements. It's isometric movements. You could literally make any movement an isometric movement. I just think that they're very, very underrated. You could incorporate them in so many different ways. If I have a person who's new to strength training, a lot of isometrics, because they're not going to get super sore. You know, maybe their mobility isn't the best, but you can gain a lot of strength really fast from these. I wouldn't make every single exercise an isometric movement. They're very, very good accessory movements. However, if you are just doing, reps on reps with back squats, and you've done the heavy training phases, you've done the 20 rep phases, try an isometric back squat hold. And it's horrible. I mean, it sucks because it's not like you're sitting at the bottom, and that's where I think people get the isometric back squat or just an isometric squat wrong. You can easily sit at the bottom and holding a weight. You're not resting, but so it's active. So I actually have people stop right at parallel, maybe a little bit below if I can tell that they're not resting. It depends on the person's limb length. But I think that it's so good, and it teaches you mental strength because you have to sit there and hold.
Yeah.
It's not like you can, scurry through the reps, but I think especially for lower body, like, I was saying like an isometric hamstring hold, have you ever done isometric split squats?
Yes.
They're terrible.
Yes.
So instead of, you basically do a split squat, but you're holding your knee, so it's hovering right above the floor, and you're just holding.
Yeah.
So it's pretty shitty, but you're not going to cause any extra soreness from these.
Correct.
So this is a good way maybe to do it, like a deload kind of phase, or just, add them in as accessory movements, or, like I said, if you're that power lifter and you know what you're doing, you've done the same like heavy phases, high rep phases, try the isometric bench press too, like holding it right above your chest or pushing into like the overcoming isometric where you're pushing into the rack for the bench press.
What are those called? I don't know, but
I don't know. It's
they have a certain name that I had in my program for a while, but yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, you could do an entire isometric phase. I just wouldn't stay in it for too long.
No.
But you will spark some muscle growth and strength, especially.
Yeah.
But if you're really good at push-ups, okay, add an isometric hold at the bottom with your chest hovering right above the floor. If you're really good at pull-ups, I mean, I haven't seen people who have been here, but if you need to pause at the top and hold, then hold at the bottom. So you can add them into different parts of a movement you're doing reps for too, to make it more challenging. So I just think they're really underrated, and I love them. They're great.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like the reason that it doesn't cause a lot of soreness is because there's no eccentric
Right.
phase, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you are struggling with fatigue and muscle soreness, but you still want to work
Yeah.
out, do some isometrics.
I also think it's a really good way to bust through a plateau.
yeah, yeah, I agree.
You know, like if
Yeah.
you, especially if you are trying to improve a lift and you know that spot in the lift that you really struggle with,
Yeah.
do isometric
Yeah.
holds in that position.
Yeah, I used to do that with
Yeah.
deadlifts for sure.
Exactly.
Or bench press, there would be a certain spot that we were supposed to pause
Yeah.
and hold for like 2 to 3 seconds and
Yeah.
then finish the lift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think even if you were to do, even if you did like a couple sets of your regular reps and then a couple sets of just holding
Holding
like 30
in that
seconds in that
spot, yeah.
position, I think it would,
Yeah.
you'd be surprised.
For sure.
So, yeah.
Okay, I
Okay.
think we're on number 8-ish.
Yeah.
I don't know.
8-ish. We'll
okay.
figure it out.
Posted single leg deadlifts.
Posted.
On the wall.
Yes.
So this, I feel like I think we're going to do a blog with a bunch of videos.
We need a
for these, 'cause
visual.
yeah, we need a visual
Yes.
for this one. These are harder than they look.
Yes.
Basically, you have a wall behind you, bend one of your legs and put your foot on that wall,
Push into it.
push into it, and then you're doing a
Single leg deadlift.
Single leg deadlift.
Yeah.
Now, do you contralaterally load for this?
I like
Opposite
to
arm?
contralaterally
Yeah.
load.
That means opposite arm, then the foot
Yeah.
that's on the floor.
If the only time I'll have people, what is it called? Is it ipsilateral when they whatever?
Whatever,
When
same
they're
side.
holding it on the side that you are training, the only time I'll do that is if I have someone super tall because their knee. So the leg that's posted on
If
the
their
wall,
knee comes
the
out
knee
too
might
far
come out
and
too
they
far,
hit
and
it.
then they're like,
That
it's
makes
really
sense.
awkward.
Yeah.
So it honestly doesn't matter. You just, if you have to load it on the side of the leg that you're working, you have to really be careful that you're keeping your hips squared.
Yeah.
So that's why if you can do it, load it contralaterally, do that.
Yeah.
But you could do it with I have people do this with barbells.
Yeah.
I mean, I do it with barbells. So
Yeah.
it's like you're holding the bar, in front. So there's not like you're not emphasizing one side, but it's fucking hard.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
forces you to keep your hips level and not twist through the hips.
Yes.
Right? So if you're wondering, like, well, why wouldn't I just do a single leg deadlift? I have balance. It's not necessarily about that.
Yeah.
Like, try this.
Try it.
Try putting
It's-
your foot on the wall
If
and doing it.
if you feel like your hips are weak, this is one of the best movements for you.
Yeah.
And this is one of the best movements that I found if people don't necessarily, if they're doing a deadlift, they're like, yeah, I feel it mostly in my hamstrings, and we can't get their glutes, can't get them to engage in their glutes. I will put them on the wall and do this,
Yeah.
and like push in the wall, and your glutes will activate
You will feel it.
automatically because you have to, because you are pushing that hip to stabilize.
Yeah.
So that's your hips stabilize and your
Yeah.
glutes stabilize the hip. So yes, it's a variation that not many people know about,
Right.
but and you do need some balance for it.
Yeah.
Where I have to really correct people with this is their back position. It's a little, it's even easier to round the back.
Yeah, I could see that.
So if we need to start with a shorter range of motion, I'm fine with that because over time, as you get stronger, you'll be able to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say if you're like a 7-foot person, I don't know if this would work for you, but most
Yeah.
people aren't. I think most people,
Most people
are,
are not, yeah.
average height, so you could do this. But for most people, it's really, really good. So instead of your regular single leg deadlift that
Yeah.
you've been doing, do a posted deadlift,
Yeah.
posted single leg deadlift.
It's
And-
like the split swap or the sweet spot between a single leg deadlift and a split stance RDL.
yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So
it's like that mid spot.
It's just a different variation. Same
Yeah.
movement, different variation, right?
Yep.
So, okay. Anti-rotation movements. Why I keep going with categories and not necessarily
That's okay.
necessarily movements, but okay, the best one and the most well-known one I think is the Palloff press.
Yeah.
So you could do
Love it.
this with a cable machine, you could do this with a band, you could do this with a dumbbell if you really wanted to. But it's just the resistance curve is different. I definitely would prefer a cable or a band.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
if you could make it work, but so you're basically, wherever the band is attached to or the cable, you're, whatever side you're working, that shoulder is going to be angled towards the cable. So, and then you're standing with your hips and shoulders squared. Take that athletic stance, so like a little bend in your knee, and you have the handle in front of your chest, and you're pressing forward. And then you're coming back. So the most resistance is when your arms are extended out in front of you.
Yeah. So basically,
Yeah.
like you're standing. Is it perpendicular to the
Yeah,
to the rack?
perpendicular to the
so
rack.
like you pull the cable out almost like you're going to do
Yeah.
a wood chop.
Yeah,
But
mhm.
instead of twisting, you're just pressing forward out
Yeah.
from your chest
Yeah.
and back in.
Yeah. I like to actually have clients do this where they're doing that oblique twist and then they're pressing
Oh,
and then
nice.
coming back and then they're So they
two
are
movements in one.
rotating.
Yeah.
But they're also
But not at the same time. Yeah,
no,
it's
yeah.
like-
So it's a broken up
I like it.
movement.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool.
I really do like it. And then I'll have some people that
Yeah.
were just doing the basic
Yeah.
tail-off press. It's when your arms are extended out in front of you, it feels really wonky.
Yeah.
And you're emphasizing one side of your body. So you're going to notice that side like, oh shit, and kind of kick on. So you have to do the other side too.
Yes.
So it's not just one side and done.
Yeah.
So especially you could start to feel a little burn, let's say you're working, your right side is perpendicular to the cable. You're working that right side. You might
Yeah.
feel the chest kind of kick on, the
Yeah.
shoulders. So make sure you do the other side. But
One of my clients who I do this with, she calls it the ocean exercise.
the ocean exercise.
Because she went to the ocean. She went on a vacation after
Uh-huh.
we'd been doing these,
Uh-huh.
and she was turned sideways in the water, and a big wave hit her, and she
Oh.
was like, It was the same thing. Like a wave hit me from
Wow.
the side, but I had to stay, and so she calls it the ocean.
I love those little gems
Yeah.
when a client is like, I was doing something in my life and
I
this
know.
helped. And
And
I'm
this-
like,
yep,
see?
that's great.
The most classic example is, I was flying on an airplane and I was able to lift my suitcase overhead. And I'm like,
Always
well,
the
good. That's
suitcase.
why we do overhead
the
presses.
biggest one.
The ones that you hate.
Yeah,
So
that's the biggest one I hear too.
I
actually.
mean, it's cool though.
Yeah.
Because like, it's annoying when you're boarding a plane. You have to like ask some
Yeah.
stronger person.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyways. All right.
Okay,
This
number
is 10,
10,
right?
Yeah,
I
we're
think
on
we
10.
did 10.
We're on 10.
We made it to 10.
We made it to 10.
Yes.
We've talked about these before. Lateral step downs.
Yes. People don't do them ever.
Not a step up.
Never
It's
seen
different.
anyone do these in the gym.
Really?
I've never seen anyone.
Me neither. I
Never.
do them with all my clients, but
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone do them. This is not a step up. It is not a side step up. You're
not a
focusing
lateral
on
step
the
up.
step down.
Yes.
So you will be starting at the top, on top of a surface, a box, a step, whatever. Let's say your right foot is standing on top of it. You will hinge your hips a little bit back,
Mm-hmm.
and you will, what is this one? Not plantar flex, dorsiflex?
Yes.
Your foot.
Yes.
And then your heel, you're trying to just tap the ground
Mm-hmm.
slightly behind you because you've done a hinge with your heel, with your left heel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're standing on the box with your right, you're stepping down, but you're just tapping the ground with your left heel. This is so hard, okay?
It is.
So you would be shocked when you try this. I'm not talking about just step down and push off your foot. I'm talking about pretend there's, what do they say, like an egg that you don't want to
Yeah.
crack or something like
Yes.
that, and you want to just tap it with your heel.
You're going very, very slow.
Very slow. Your
Yeah.
hip stability. This is huge for hip stability.
Yeah.
In fact, one side, I have a huge deficit on one side for this one, and
Yeah.
that is, I realized it when I started doing this.
Yeah.
Why my squats were so messed up and
Yeah.
why I was getting hurt all the time. But this is huge, and you want to start low. Like start with, if you have like a step with multiple risers, start on the first level.
Yeah.
If you master that, go up to the next. If you master that, go up to the next, until you find that spot where you're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
this is hard.
Yeah.
And train there.
Yeah. I would like to see, because I've had people do this where they control it about halfway down and then they just plop the rest of the
Yeah,
way.
because the hip, there's no stability there.
So that's why you want to start pretty low.
Yes.
Like you could find just a regular, I don't know, what are they called? The steps in step class?
Those,
The
I don't know,
riser steps. The steps. That's pretty, it's a pretty low surface to start
Yeah.
on. But if you need to do that, fine. And most gyms have them, and most gyms have the risers underneath to make them a little bit taller as you go. And, eventually you could get to regular boxes, but I wouldn't do it if you can't control the full way.
Correct.
And this is why I have to also prescribe for people and write in control lower for 5 to 6 seconds.
Oof, yeah.
So I have to write that in, or else people will just kind of like lower and come back up and lower and come back up, and you're not really getting much out of that.
Yeah.
It's fully controlling the eccentric.
Yeah.
And you're pushing up on the concentric, but the focus of this is the eccentric.
Right.
In loading
Yes.
that. So, okay.
All right.
You basically have an entire program. If you need
Yeah.
to know how to incorporate these movements, just do them as a full body day, or split them up. Do 5 one day and 5 the other day.
Yeah.
You got every single muscle group.
Yeah.
So
pretty much.
seriously,
Yeah. These are
try
good.
it. And I really do think if you've never tried any of these, yes, they will suck, but your gains will explode.
Yes.
Yes.
For sure.
All right.
All right.
Peace out.